Hey guys, it's Jessica. Welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to be picking my June TBR. As always, I'm going to be using my trusty TBR prompt jar and my physical TBR jar that contains most of the physical books that I haven't read yet that are on my shelves. And we're going to combine those with a couple of ARCs and new releases that I want to read that I will tell you about at the end of this video. I'm going to stick with about 12 books on my TBR. I will probably not read 12 books, but that gives me a chance to be able to pick and choose and do a little bit of mood reading within that as the month goes on. I do have the ability to put back a prompt or two if it's just impossible. And with the physical TBR jar, I can't guarantee you I'm not going to accidentally pull something I've already read. And if I do, then we'll try again. So I have my laptop over here so that I can go through my library holds if I need to. I have a sparkling water because I'm very dehydrated. And let's go ahead and get started by drawing something from the physical TBR jar. Okay, so I'm going to just do one. I can always come back and do another one if I want to, but this is my completely random pick. So let's see what we're going to be reading from the physical TBR jar. Oh, and we do have one that I've already read, which is The Nipple Boys by Colson Whitehead, which I highly recommend if you haven't read it, but I've already read it. So we're going to take that one out of the jar and we're going to pull again. Okay, that is not bad. Now we have Cat Among the Pigeons, and that is an Agatha Christie novel. Let me grab it. All right, so I have Cat Among the Pigeons by Agatha Christie. Show you all this cover. Very disappointed in the general lack of cats on this cover, but that's okay. This is a Hercule Poirot mystery, and it says, late one night, two teachers investigate a mysterious flashing light in the sports pavilion while the rest of the school sleeps. There, among the lacrosse sticks, they stumble upon the body of an unpopular games mistress, shot through the heart. The school is thrown into chaos when the cat strikes again. Unfortunately, schoolgirl Juliet Upjohn knows too much. In particular, she knows that without Hercule Poirot's help, she will be the next victim. I read a Hercule Poirot. I read Murder on the Orient Express last month, so this is my second one of the year, and I'm pretty excited. I do like to pick these up when I find them in an edition that I like at a used bookstore. So I have a couple that I haven't read yet, and I don't remember ever reading this one, but it's always possible I did. But I'm looking forward to getting back with Hercule Poirot and following him for another adventure, so I think that was a great pick to start out my June TBR. All right, so we are going to draw from the prompt jar now. I have, I'm going to say 8 draws that I'm going to do from here, and we're going to see if we can find books to go with them. I actually tried to do this video yesterday, but I was just not in the mood, so we're trying it again today because, as you can maybe tell from the lighting in here, it's kind of gloomy outside, and this feels like the perfect day to go through some books. All right, pick number 1. I just took these out and shuffled them in hopes that we wouldn't get all the same ones again that we do every month. Let's see. So this one says, set in the future. I feel a science fiction book coming on. Give me just one moment and I'll get some options. Okay, I'm back and I have 2 options for set in the future. The first one is The Deep Sky by Yumi Kitase. This is a, on the eve of Earth's collapse, a ship carrying humanity's last hope. It's like a generation ship. There's a mystery that we're trying to solve in this. I have read another book, The Stardust Grail by the same author, and I quite enjoyed it. So I would really like to read another book by her. And then I also have a book that I have on hold at the library. It's called The Dream Hotel by Laila Lalami, and I think it came out a few months ago, and it says it's a dystopian futuristic novel following Sarah, a Moroccan-American woman who is detained by the Risk Assessment Administration, which uses biometric data and algorithms to assess citizens for pre-crime tendencies, including analyzing dreams to predict and prevent crime. When returning from a conference, Sarah is flagged as a potential threat to her husband and held in a private retention center run by the RAA. So those seem like very different things. So I think the Dream Hotel is one that I've been hearing a lot of buzz about. I know it's been kind of popular with book clubs lately. And this one I've heard some pretty good stuff about. I know it's going to be probably a little bit of an easier read, but I think that my pick for this is going to be The Dream Hotel, because I have been wanting to read it since it came out, and I'm pretty sure my library hold's going to come up soon, and I'm going to be able to read it and see what I think about it. Literary science fiction, which is a thing that I personally really adore. So I'm excited for that one. So that's going to be book number 2. All right, let's pick again. This says blue cover. You're absolutely not going to be able to read that. I'm going to stop doing that. Okay, blue cover. Let me find a few options. So we're going to have 3 options for blue cover. The first one's going to be The Ninth Reign by Jen Williams. This is a fantasy, start of a trilogy. It is about, I saw some people describe them as like vampire elves. Tell me no more. Okay. I've heard really good things about this. I also have the ebook of this so I could switch back and forth because I own that. I have a book called The Invisible Library, and this one's definitely a navy blue, and it is about a professional organization where librarians are spies who collect important works of fiction from all different realities. And I think that sounds really great. And then I have one more, and that's going to be a standalone, and I'm going to say this is blue. Some people might say it's kind of periwinkle, but that's kind of a blue. And that's The Dollmakers by Lynn Buchanan, which I can check out from the library. It says a dark and enchanting standalone fantasy, a world centered around destructive, all-consuming monsters, the magical dolls designed to fight the force of monsters, and the artisans tasked with creating the demon-slaying dolls. A touch cozy fantasy and a touch horror. Perfect for fans of Studio Ghibli films. I don't think I knew that was cozy. I've seen a lot of people read it recently, and I've been extremely, extremely curious about it. So now I'm very torn because I do need to start this year because I have it on a list for a read-along. But I also have this one, which I bought a while ago and have yet to get around to starting. Or I could just read another library book because that's where I am. So you know what? I'm going to read the library book. So we are going to check out The Dollmakers by Lynn Buchanan for the month of June. And it does have a blue cover. Little bit purple, but there's blue and purple. We're just going to go with it. I don't think I have purple cover in here anyway. And that's going to be my next book. All right. So far, I am so pleased. Let's pick another one. These like to stick together. Let's see. Okay. Ooh, this one says creepy cover. Excellent. Love it. Okay, I'm back with my picks for creepy cover. I have one that I own and one that I have an ebook of. So the one that I own in a physical book is called Strange Practice by Vivian Shaw. So I'm going to put that forward so you can see that it is in fact creepy. Meet Greta Van Helsing, Doctor to the Undead. Dr. Greta Van Helsing has inherited the family's highly specialized, highly peculiar medical practice. She treats the undead for host of ills, vocal strain and banshees, arthritis and barrow weights, and entropy and mummies. So then there's a murder, and she has to solve a mystery, and I'm kind of like fascinated by this series. I had never heard of it, and then I was going through new releases for one of my recent new release videos, and I saw that the 4th book in this series just came out, and then I saw it at the library store. So I picked up a copy so that I could try the first book. Very excited about it. And the other one I have is called We Live Here Now, and it's by Sarah Penborough, and it is a haunted house story. So I'm going to put that up here, and you can see that it has a little bit of a creepy house vibe, and it is about a couple who buy an English manor house, and there's something wrong with it. And I love a haunted house story. So I'm a little bit conflicted. I do already have a mystery. So I think the fact that this is a horror mystery is going to win out for me. So I think we're going to read Strange Practice by Vivian Shaw. It also has like the creepiest cover. I love this cover. It's so strange. So that's going to be my pick for creepy cover. And let's draw another one. Trying to get one. Here we go. And I got fantasy romance. All right. So I'm not what you would call a fantasy romance person. I actually just read a fantasy romance. I just read The Night and the Moth. It was great. You should read it. So let me see what else I might have on my TBR that I would count as a fantasy romance. We'll see. Okay, I'm back trying to find things for fantasy romance. I don't have a ton on my TBR, but I did find two. Okay, so the first book I have is Paladin's Grace by T. Kingfisher. This is the start of her, I can't remember the name of the series, but it's a series of books where you're following a paladin and there's a romance in each one. I have read a lot of T. Kingfisher. I don't find that her books that are rated as romance work for me quite as well as the ones that are a little bit lighter on the romance, but that doesn't mean that I wouldn't like it. But my other option is Daughter of the Forest by Juliet Marillier. This is another like recent, really beat up library copy that I got because I have been wanting to read this book for years and years and years. And I keep forgetting that it's a book I want to read because I don't own it. So I bought this terrible copy and I've been thinking about reading it. This is a classic. It was published in 1999. So I obviously have an opinion. And I think my opinion is that I'm going to go with Daughter of the Forest. So it says on the back, well, it says break the something and the curse remains forever because as you can see, I have a big library sticker covering up part of the back. Devoted daughter, beloved sister Sorcia is the light of the Seven Waters clan. Then suddenly her father and brothers are lost to her, bewitched by her new stepmother. To reclaim their lives, Sorcia leaves the only place she has ever known. When she is kidnapped by enemy forces and alone in a foreign land, it seems that there will be no way for Sorcia to break the spell. But true magic knows no boundaries, and she must choose, fulfill a vow or gamble on a love that could heal her world or shatter it. Anyway, sounds great. I'm very into it. All right, moving on. It's going very well so far. I am very pleased with our list. Now we have a debut novel. Love a debut novel. Let us see what I have. So for debut novel, I actually think I'm going to pick a book that I know is coming out this month, and that is Death on the Caldera by Emily Paxman. This one has a blurb on it that describes it as Murder on the Orient Express, but with witches. So it's a mystery, a fantasy mystery set on a train. It was supposed to come out last month and I was going to read it then, but it did not. It got pushed back a little bit by the publisher. So hopefully it's going to come out this month. And hopefully I'm going to get it from the library because I don't think I'm super high in the list for that, but I could always just buy it if I decide I need to read it right now instead of starting with the library. Probably be okay with that. It has a fantastic cover with a train. So debut novel is going to be Death on the Caldera. Okay, and we are going to draw again. I have a few more left to do. Got them here. This one says historical setting, so that could be a lot of things. Let's go and find some options. Okay, historical setting. I have not chosen to read straight historical fiction for this because I just read one recently and I like to space them out. So I have some kind of fantasy adjacent things here. First, I have Slaughterhouse 5 by Kurt Vonnegut. This is partially autobiographical of his, based on his experiences being a POW in Dresden during the firebombing in World War II. I just went to the Kurt Vonnegut Museum and picked this up because I read it once before, but I don't know that I got everything out of it that I could have. So I would really like to read it again. And I also have here, I have The Devil in the Dark Water by Stuart Turton. This is historical fantasy. It says it's 1634 and Samuel Pepys. Why did I say it like that? Samuel Pepys, the world's greatest detective, is being transported to Amsterdam to be executed for a crime he may or may not have committed. Okay, so this has got, it's got a little ship's map in here. And I've tried to start this before, but did not end up reading it. But I do quite love Stuart Turton and have really wanted to finish reading that, but I'm not sure. I may, you know what, we're just gonna set them both in the stack for now because I can't decide on that one because I want to read them both so much. So maybe they're both gonna go in there. All right, let's see, where are we? All right, we're gonna pick a couple more. And I pulled Gothic horror, which I don't know if I have anything in my shelf that would count as Gothic horror. So that's very specific. So I think that one is just going to be one of the ones I'm going to put back. I do love a good Gothic novel, but that's going to be a hard search, and I'm tired today. So let's see. We have a 2-word title. Okay, let's find some titles with 2 words. I came up with 2 books that are going to be 2-word titles that are both from the library. So the first one is called Strange Beasts by Susan Morris, which is kind of Gothic-ish. So maybe it kind of would have worked for that other one, actually. At the dawn of the 20th century in Paris, Samantha Harker, daughter of Dracula's killer, works as a researcher for the Royal Society for the Study of Abnormal Phenomena. But no one realizes how abnormal she is. She's a channel into the minds of monsters, a power that could help her solve the gruesome deaths plaguing turn-of-the-century Paris, or have her thrown into an asylum. So we have some kind of crossover with Dracula, which I love. I have been wanting to read this one. The other one that I have is called Small Miracles, and it's by Olivia Atwater. So let me read the description of that one. Gadriel, the fallen angel of petty temptations, has a bit of the gambling debt. Fortunately, her angelic bookie is happy to let her pay off her debts by doing what she does best. All she has to do is tempt miserably sinless mortal Holly Harker to do a few nice things for herself. And I think it's a little bit of a romantasy. I think it's also independently published, which is a thing that I need to be reading. So let's see. This one I'm pretty like I don't know again. I don't know. Strange Beasts, I have a lot of darker things in this TBR already, and I feel like this one would be a little bit more heartwarming, but I also have some heartwarming kind of things. But I haven't read an Olivia Atwater book in a year at least. So I feel like because I already have some creepy things on here that I'm going to go with Small Miracles by Olivia Atwater, which I have honestly been dying to read. So that is a pretty exciting addition to the TBR. Okay, so I'm going to do one more draw from here, and then I'll talk about the books that I'm going to be reading that are new releases for this month. All right. Let's try that again because I saw that. No cheating. You're not cheating here. Okay. This says high fantasy. Love it. Love a high fantasy. Let me give some options. I have so many. I have a high fantasy problem, and I don't have any on this list, so amazing. So as it turns out, I don't own a lot of high fantasy, but I do have some options that are on my TBR. So I do own this. This is the Ninth Reign. We already talked about this, like Vampire Elves, yes. And it's a high fantasy series. I'm kind of into the idea of reading this. I definitely want to read it this year. And I also have on my TBR, I would like to start my John Gwynne journey, I think is what I'm going to say. And I would like to read The Shadow of the Gods. So The Shadow of the Gods is Norse-inspired fantasy, and it's about, I believe, a land where the old gods have driven themselves to extinction. And I honestly don't know that much more about it than that, except that I have been wanting to read something by John Gwynne, and of his 2 series that people recommend all the time, this is the one that I think I want to start with. And so I think I'm going to put it on my TBR, and sadly, Vampire Elves are not going to be this month, but they are coming. So do not worry. So I'm going to talk about the 3 books that I'm going to be reading that are not out here because they're new releases and arcs. So the first one is going to be This Princess Kills Murders by Herman. This one's coming out kind of toward the end of the month. And this is a retelling of the 12 Huntsmen story from Grimm's fairy tale. And it's about a princess who kills monsters. And it has a fantastic cover. but I really, really, really want to read it. So I'm very excited for that to come out. I also have an arc of A Far Better Thing by H.G. Parry. I love H.G. Parry. H.G. Parry has written a lot of books that I think are highly, highly underrated. Most recently, I read The Scholar and the Last Fairy Door, which is kind of a dark academia fantasy with a pretty intense magical system in it that I would recommend. And this one is set in the French Revolution, and it is a little bit of a retelling of A Tale of Two Cities. I talked about it a little bit more in my upcoming releases video, so you can check that out if you'd like to hear a little bit more. But I am going to be reading it and reviewing it for the channel, so I already know that one's on there. And then finally, I have Bury Our Bones in the Midnight Soil by V.E. Schwab. This is V.E. Schwab's new release this month. This is a historical fantasy. I think it involves vampires, and it's set in 3 different time periods. And I don't know if I like V.E. Schwab exactly. I sometimes do, and I sometimes don't. So we're going to see where this one falls, but I am excited to read it, and I should be getting this from the library this month when it comes out. So I am planning to read it. And those are the new releases that I decided for sure that I'm going to read this month. If I get anything else from the library, who knows what's going to happen? Anything is possible, but let's go ahead and recap. Again, I'm probably not going to get to all of these books this month, but I have found that sometimes when I'm feeling a little like I don't know what I want to read, I want to have more options. So these are more options. So let's start back here. My physical TBR jar pick was Cat Among Pigeons by Agatha Christie. Then I had Set in the Future, and I chose The Dream Hotel by Laila Lalami. We have Blue Cover. I chose The Dollmakers. Very excited. Creepy Cover. And I picked Strange Practice by Vivian Shaw. Very creepy. Fantasy Romance. We have Daughter of the Forest by Juliet Marillier. Debut novel, I've chosen Death on the Caldera, which is a new release this month. Hopefully it's going to come out and I'm going to be able to get it. Historical setting, I couldn't choose. So I picked 2. So I said I was going to read Slaughterhouse 5 and I was going to read The Devil in the Dark Water. And I'm probably not going to read both of those, but maybe I will. Who knows? So those are both on there. And then 2-word title, I chose Small Miracles by Olivia Atwater. And high fantasy, we have The Shadow of the Gods by Gwynne. So that is quite the list. And I am really, really excited to get started reading those. Like I said, we have a couple days before I'm probably going to start reading this TBR. Right now, I'm going to focus on seeing if I can get from the library all of the ones that I don't already own. But I think it looks like it's going to be a fantastic month. Thank you if you have made it this far for watching. If you enjoy watching TBR videos and then seeing what people read from them, I hope you'll consider subscribing. I would love to have you around. Leave me a comment if you are so inclined, and let me know what you are the most excited to read in June. And if you're feeling quiet, go ahead and leave me the stack of books emoji, because I have given myself quite the stack of books to read this month. I hope that you all have a fantastic day. I will see you in the next video. Goodbye.